Uber Nubinator says,
I'm sure there's like really good stuff inside of it.
Corey, hey, if you could go anywhere, where in the world would you travel to and why?
Japan.
That's a great question. I'd like to go back to Japan, even though I live there. I do
really
want to go
wanna
back.
Japan.
I want to go to
actually
Japan.
You want to go to Japan? But why?
Absolutely.
But why?
Because I'm into their culture. I'm a big weeb.
Being raised where I am and seeing like weeaboos or whatever people call them, I've always been fascinated by Japanese culture because where we kind of like grow away from arcade machines.
What's a weeboo?
Well,
it's a person who's like,
it's like an
overly
autistic
obsessed
white
with
person
like
who's, like,
Japanese
just-
culture.
yeah.
So do you think...
I know, here's the thing.
Like, I'm kind of a slight weeb
Here's
because I
the
like
thing,
Godzilla and
Well,
fucking...
we did that podcast with, what's his face? With Wooly.
Yeah.
And Wooly was like this self-prescribed like Uber weeb.
Yeah.
No, yeah, there's nothing
Yo,
wrong.
if
like,
you're down with Japanese stuff, I don't see the problem.
I
know,
fucking grew up in
language.
Asia. Everything I fucking love is Asian, but I don't consider myself a weeb.
I'm saying in the sense with weeboo as a, not a derogatory statement, but as like, you know, a person who's really into, that's why I said
Don't
weeb.
you use it in a derogatory fashion to
I don't
crack
use
on
it.
people?
I don't
what they
use it
do,
as a
but
derogatory
I just say
statement.
it
I don't
like a
call
person
people
who's-
weeaboos because I understand.
What
people
is
like
the exact
Japanese
translation
culture.
of
Okay,
weeb?
a weeaboo was an insult to
A
people
white
who were
person who
like,
likes
I love
Japanese
anime,
stuff.
I love manga, I love like, you know, Godzilla and Ultraman and all this other just really Japanese
It's not
shit.
an insult.
Where it's usually, well, it used to be kind of.
It used to be, but we
now,
don't live in that age anymore.
But now it's just kind of like, yeah, I guess I'm kind of a weeb because I like
yeah,
Japanese
exactly.
culture.
Like I would call myself, I would honestly say, if I invested more time, I could definitely become a weeb. Absolutely, I have no problem saying that. It's like becoming a nerd. It's like not a big deal. What I'm
But
saying,
don't weebs like crack on other weebs because they aren't as weeb as they are?
if you want to crack
that's
on a
every-
weeb because
Yeah,
he's
but that's
not
like
as
every
weeb
nerd
as you,
culture.
You're
You're not
fucking
really a
douchebag.
nerd.
If you want to be like, you're not a nerd because I know the fucking square root of 400. It's like, who cares, faggot? I know like more game knowledge than you could ever know. It's like, whatever you call a weeb is a weeb. But in my opinion, like the whole culture of like weebology,
Weebology.
Weeabology.
coin.
Weebology.
Coin.
This guy
But
knows. This guy
basically-
knows.
Oh
what he's
my
doing.
God.
Basically, I always found the
It's
concept.
happening.
I always found it fascinating that like they still read mangas. I don't want to get crucified.
Thank you.
And they still like do arcades and shit. Like it's still really popular there. And that concept that they still like do that kind of stuff and the different. I've always been fascinated in the different like just that culture and in general. Like I love the Japanese like fashion and style. They have really cool fashion in Japan. Like Tokyo has an amazing fashion sense. I love like the styles and shit.
Yeah, truth
And
there.
beyond
No,
like
it ends up being like what we end up emulating.
yeah,
later on.
beyond the
Yeah.
fashion, beyond the games, and beyond like the arcades and stuff. I've always been really fascinated with the Japanese culture because American culture. I like Americans. I'm not gonna say like I'm not an American. I love American
Well,
culture.
American culture is such a hodgepodge of cultures. When you
Yeah.
think about like Japanese culture, it's very homogenous. It's
Oh,
very
absolutely.
isolated, very specific, laser
Maybe my-
crystallized,
yeah.
like
American
pinpoint-
culture is summed up like you buy a crock pot and you
Yeah,
throw a bunch
exactly.
of shit in it
Yeah.
and hope that it works out. The end.
Yeah, and Japan has been very faithful to making sure that what they present to the world has been very much like representative of their
It's
country.
just cool that you can
Exactly.
be like on a train through Japan and you'll pass under a statue of a giant robot. It's like shit
I'm all
that
about
actually
that.
happens there.
That idea is awesome to me because
Yeah.
in America we're too busy. We're worried about like the stuff that's
Got like
you know,
Gundam
wars
statues
and
and Godzilla statues. It's like
shit. Yeah, the
sweet,
gun.
dude.
You wouldn't go through fucking New York and see a giant Gundam statue under.
My favorite story. One of my favorite stories, as far as like geek culture is concerned, is I went to one of the Sega arcades, and there was House of the Dead.
Oh,
and
that's
there
cool,
were these
dude.
guys. There was this one guy. Sorry, specifically one guy, long hair, and he was playing House of the Dead, and he did it with like it looked like he wasn't even looking
Was
at
that
the
his
screen.
name? Long hair.
Yeah, long hair. No,
Long hair.
that would be a Chinese name. But he was like, he was at the Sega arcade, and he played House of the Dead, and it looked like he wasn't even looking at the screen, but he was playing two players with both guns, and he did this thing where he was just like almost like doing a dance while he was playing.
And you know what?
And he was like, pop, pop,
Equilibrium,
pop.
it's like
That
a gun
fascinates
kata
me.
thing.
No, it looked like a Gunkata thing, and he was doing headshot. Now, to be fair, I didn't even know in House of the Dead that you could do like a straight up headshot kill. Like I knew that helped, But I didn't know that like if you only did headshots in House of the Dead, that would actually like
And you know what? That absolutely fascinates me.
Yeah.
The concept of that.
No,
I would
everyone
never
circled
think of
around
that.
and watched it. It was
People
like a
are
very normal
invested. These
cultural
people who
thing.
get together and do DDR sessions in like
Yeah.
these fucking Japanese like arcades. It's like an Evo tournament. Everyone's lined up and fucking cheering these
that's
people
exactly
on.
what it was like. I mean, back then, watching somebody in like a crowd playing a video game felt a little awkward.
Yeah.
But now that we have like, I mean, and this is in before the 2000s. So
Oh, yeah,
now
absolutely.
watching people play video games in a fucking huge room is normal and celebrated.
Absolutely.
But when I was doing it, it felt a little awkward. So
Yeah,
it is
no.
kind of interesting how things have fucking changed since
Yeah.
then. So next question we've got, and we're getting close, fellers. This is from Super Slum. If you could run your own convention, what would be the first thing you do?
What? What do you mean? The
Butts
first
out,
thing?
titties up.
Fuck a chick.
Everywhere you gotta fuck.
What would you do?
Dude, okay.
You're running a convention. First thing you do.
Dark
Chris.
room. Everyone
huge
gets naked
room.
and fucks each other.
No, you son
Promote
of a bitch.
ourselves?
Yeah,
No,
I know.
that's-
See, that's like the logical,
No.
like,
A huge
stupid.
let
auditorium.
people know.
Huge auditorium.
Okay.
Small ball pit.
Absolutely small.
Wait, isn't this like
If
that
you
one
get
con that
$1,000
failed really hard?
Nah.
You're talking about something that exists.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Dash
$1,000 you get
We'll call it Dash Con. What do
you
you
get
think?
a wallow in people's urine.
Totally
Just piss all
unrelated.
over the
Dash
fucking
Con.
balls.
Yeah, Cash Con. There you go.
Sleepy Cash.
No, really. We run a con. If we ran a con, what would be the first thing you would do running a con?
Scary dark forest with owls. People walk through a forest and see all these scary owls.
Fuck you,
turning their
boys.
heads.
Dude, let's just get a huge room and release like 50 million L's
It's
into
a
it.
good idea, dude.
You ever see the video of the Americans like chilling the fucking they release the eagle to fucking smash it? It'd be like that.
Dude, that's a good cringe video.
30 owls smashing the window constantly every fucking minute, dying.
Trying to escape fucking Russia.
Yeah. Fucking
The dark
dying.
room with these like fucking like stock sound effects that you buy like chains from like old the 80s, and there's fucking like owls crashing in the
Throw a few
And we'll have
dolphin
your
sound effects in there.
we'll have your can narration playing all the
there you
time,
go, the whole
over and
time.
over.
Yeah, just repeating.
There you go. Here's your answer.
You'll turn it up
That's
really
my
loud, and all the
answer.
owls will scream
I
and
don't know
die.
about these motherfuckers' answer.
It's like turn up the bass. It's just like breaking the speakers.
Not only your fucking ears hurting, or just
Let's
owls
paint the
crashing
L's
into
purple,
every
too.
window.
You know what I would do if I ran a convention? I would create a map where if there was a thing you needed to see or wanted to see, you'd actually be able to find it.
Wow, that's a good idea.
Because I know, right? Because I feel like we've gone to some conventions where people like almost hide the rooms that people are supposed to go to in these very like fucking Sisyphean
Well,
mazes.
they have these fucking like Metroidvania bullshit. Like you can't tell.
oh, I know.
It's like 6 fucking rooms
Oh,
above
no.
what you're supposed to go on.
And then it's a big surprise that people don't fucking figure it out. But
yeah, it's like, oh, I didn't know this is at room 42.
So anyways, yeah, if I ran a convention, number one, make a fucking map that people can actually follow. They don't have to download the app and fucking have a degree in fucking physics.